Good morning, everybody. Got a lot going on today. We've got big election wins in Michigan. We've got, of course, Don Snorleone's court case up in New York. We've got um, Greg Abbott down here in Texas doing the absolutely predictable. We we just got a lot to talk about, so let's dig into it. Good morning, everybody. What a great day. What a great day. We have a lot going on today. We start off with Michigan. As folks file in, let's start off with Michigan. In Michigan, we had a special election. What we had a couple Democrats that won mayoral races that vacated their seats in the Michigan House. That left a dead tie in the Michigan House. And of course, Republicans, cannot help but being awful anytime they get any power whatsoever, have been just a gigantic pain in the butt. Well, that's over with. That is over with. Continuing on with the streak of wins that we Democrats have had, we've just been rolling, folks. People are just sick and tired of Republicans. We've got Mahjong and Peter Hertzberg, both of which won their special elections and have tipped the Michigan House back in control of Democrats. We have absolutely, thank you, Marcia Clip. I appreciate the support. Hey, y'all, happy Wednesday. Hump day! We made it. Katie Carroll, always with the support. Thank you. Glad to see you and help. Man, Katie, you're always here with a lot of support. Sweetheart, do not hurt yourself. Do not hurt yourself. I am so glad for the support, but you give a lot of money to us here, and I'm really grateful. I would never want anybody to hurt themselves. Please, if you can, great. I'm super grateful for the support. I am. You are super supportive, but I love you folks. I would never want anybody to give more than they can. So thank you, Katie Carroll. I really appreciate you. I really do. This leaves Gretchen Whitmer in a wonderful position. She's going to be big in 2028, folks. She's one of the ones that I actually have my eye on for 2028. She is something else. She's smart. She's a seriously adept political knife fighter. She's what I love about Democrats. She doesn't play this high road garbage. She will mix it up. She will go. That's why, to be honest with you, that's why Republicans are terrified of her. And Michigan is a wonderful bellwether for the country. It really is. You have a lot of middle-aged white guys that are they're like windsock indicators at the airport. They let you know which way the wind is blowing because they tend to be on the fence quite a bit. And if we're doing well, they vote for us. If they're disappointed with us, they tend to go Republican. They have been voting solid Democrats, which gives me, I'm not saying be lazy. I'm not saying be lazy. We've got to stay after it. I mean, everything is on the line here, but it's really heartening. It is really, really heartening to see what's been happening in Michigan and take that as a good indicator that the work you're doing is paying off, is really paying off. We have Don Snorleone's Kathy McCall, thank you for the support. Rosanna, thank you for the support. I really appreciate you guys. We have Don Snorleone's trial up in New York. I'm going to be honest with you folks. I'm not going to talk about this for very long. I am sick of Trump. I am done with Trump. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of his mouth. I'm tired of all of it. It is news, so I've got to say something. But this is really all I'm going to say about Don Snorleone. I love Jimmy Kimmel won the contest. What should we call him? Rip Van Stinkle, Don Snorleone. Jimmy Kimmel beat us all. He beat us all. He came up with a perfect nickname, Dozo the Clown. I mean, that is perfect. Dozo the Clown. Cannot stay awake for his own court case. Meanwhile, he badmouths, like Chris said over on MSNBC, if you're going to call your opponent Sleepy Joe, you got one job. You got one job. And sure enough, every case he's falling asleep. I'm just going to leave this here. I'm just going to leave this here. Hillary Clinton. My God, what a great president she would have been. 11 hours in front of a hostile committee, and she just destroyed them. Just destroyed them for 11 straight hours. And Dozo the Clown, he can't even stay awake for jury selection for 8 hours in his own damn criminal trial, in which he's going to go to jail at the end of it. But, before we started talking about this trial, I told you that what they're going to go for is he was never tried and convicted of these bribes. We talked about that. We talked about that in the last show. He was never tried and convicted for these bribes. I got to tell you, we are so fortunate to have so many smart people out there that can put these things together and just so clearly explain things. I am so grateful for people like Rachel Maddow, who I'm going to play you here a clip, a couple minutes of her take on this in just a minute. She just lays it bare why the DOJ never brought these charges. It's not that the charges weren't relevant. Katie Carroll, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. You help us out quite a bit here on the show, and I'm really grateful. Rachel Maddow let me just let you put it in. Let me let her explain this. We're talking about why the DOJ never brought charges. They brought charges against Michael Cohen. They did that. They knew it was a crime. They prosecuted him for that. That was Trump's DOJ with Bill Barr. They prosecuted Michael Cohen. Why didn't they continue on and finish prosecuting the crime? Rachel Maddow just nails it here. Just nails it.
Justice Department rules do say, for better or for worse, that presidents can't be criminally charged while they are serving as president. But if federal prosecutors had determined that Trump had committed these crimes with Michael Cohen, right? Nothing would stop them from charging Trump for those crimes the moment he was once again a private citizen. And the head of the U.S. Attorney's Office that did this investigation, that brought this case, he says that Trump's guys at the U.S. Justice Department monkeyed with this case. They monkeyed with.
That is so important. And he's talking about Jess Berman here. You just listen to what she says here. I'm going to play it one more time.
Had committed these crimes with Michael Cohen, right? Nothing would stop them from charging Trump for those crimes the moment he was once again a private citizen. And the head of the U.S. Attorney's Office that did this investigation, that brought this case, he says that Trump's guys at the U.S. Justice Department monkeyed with this case. They monkeyed with this investigation on Trump's behalf to make sure SDNY would never and could never determine that Donald Trump committed these federal crimes. This isn't something that like we had to worry might happen. This happened. And the whistleblower on this was the guy who was running the U.S. Attorney's Office that got monkeyed with. He was in a position to know. Another revelation from Jeff Berman's book was that when Michael Cohen pled guilty, Trump's Justice Department made prosecutors at SDNY strip out tons of references to Trump in their court filings. And so, yeah, the big damning document they ultimately filed contained that key phrase that Cohen acted in coordination with and at the direction of individual one. But Jeff Berman says that the document his office had planned to file was much more explicit about Trump's involvement in Cohen's crimes. What they'd wanted to say was that Trump acted in concert with and coordinated with Cohen. Apparently, when Trump's Justice Department saw that, they were livid. They made SDNY cut down this court filing from 40 pages to 21 pages, and they made them strip out all the most damning findings about Trump in order to protect Trump from this federal investigation.
Boom. Drop the mic, walk off the stage. You've got the lead prosecutor in the Southern District of New York saying, look, we had a case. They killed it. They came in, they ordered us to strip out any language referring to Trump. Bill Barr's Justice Department did this for Trump while Trump was president. I mean, come on, folks. Come on. You know, I have said this over and over again, and I'll be honest with you. You're great people. You're great people that like to call me out on the carpet when you think that I'm going over the top, and I appreciate that. I really do. I love your opinions. I do. But when I said we need to gut the DOJ, and every Republican's got to go, I got pushback. I did. I got pushback. This is why. This is why. If you flip the script on it, and it was Joe Biden being investigated, and you had an aggressive, let's pretend Merrick Garland's not there, Attorney General, step in and gut an investigation, every damn one of those prosecutors and investigators and everybody involved in that case would be screaming with their hair on fire, running to a Republican committee to testify. Yet this happened during the Trump campaign, and you only had a few people like me and Midas Touch and a few people in the corporate media really kind of ignored this. Carmel says the Nodfather is popular. I like that. I like that. The Nodfather. That's good. That's good. Peter Campbell says Bill Barr was the one that told Bush he must pardon everyone involved in the Iran-Contra and now in charge with the corrupt DOJ. Yeah, I love you people for being so informed. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is not Bill Barr's first rodeo at protecting Republicans. No, that's not me. No. There is no live Instagram chat with me. No. I am doing a live show right now. Forward that information, if you will. Go to my website, forward the information from that Instagram chat in an email to me, and I'll get in touch with Instagram, and I'll get that taken care of. There are a lot of folks out there that pretend to be me. Just, you got to know, you know me, you know what I am, you know what I think, you know what I feel. If you're in a live chat with somebody, I have people that take my show, this show, and they duplicate it on other channels on YouTube on their own channel and pretend it's me later. It's just the way it works. It's part and parcel to being me. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. We got sidetracked there. I got a lot of pushback from folks. I did. I mean, most people agree. Yeah, we've got to gut the DOJ. We really do. Democrats need to be in charge of the DOJ. We're the only one with the character. I mean, we police our own. We're the only ones with the character to actually enforce the law. Republicans will not do it. I want you to imagine for 1 second, though. 1 second, like I was saying, flip the script. Imagine for 1 second that the investigation was of Joe Biden, and Joe Biden had his lawyer pay bribes to hush people up. And Merrick Garland, or somebody you have to imagine a district attorney that would actually act on behalf of Joe Biden, came in to the DOJ, to the prosecutors, hauled out their reports. Remember, they didn't touch the Hur report. They didn't touch it at all. Katie Carroll says, agree completely. All Republicans must go, including head of the post office, and term limits 6 years for SCOTUS retroactive. Absolutely. 100% agree. John Ossoff did a fantastic job with DeJoy. I believe DeJoy's days are numbered, but back to what we were talking about. Could you imagine how quickly all of those agents, all of those prosecutors would have run to a Republican committee to testify? But they do that to a Republican, Trump, crickets, not a word. What more proof do you need from me? Thanks for the support, William Kennedy. I appreciate you. What more proof do you need from me that Republicans cannot be involved in law enforcement? They can't. They're just immoral. They just make shit up. They just lie. It's always party over country, party over the people, party over all, because they believe their power is paramount to everything. And it's disgusting. It's just disgusting. Asborn Newton, my friend from Norway, good to see you, my friend. The other side will only enforce the law when it's convenient, and it's targeting the correct demographic. Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, I want you to think about, we're going to switch now from Trump and his woes. Thank you for the support. I appreciate you. From his woes to the border for just a second. I know we talk about the border a lot, but this is important, folks. This is important. I tell you a lot. I give you information. I give you heads up because I have been involved in politics for a long time. I can read what the insiders are doing. I know what's coming, and I warn you what's coming. I told you the numbers will not bear this border fantasy crap out. It will not. It's going to collapse under its own weight. We're being invaded. You cannot have month after month after month of low immigration numbers and then still be utilizing that same nonsense. It was going to collapse until the caravan gets here right before the election. Then they'll go back to it. But in between, I told you, they're doing nothing down there. Few yards worth of razor wire. That's it. They're not doing anything. They got Department of Public Safety, which is Texas's. That's our state troopers. They're sitting there with their pockets in their hands. They're watching their laptops in their cars parked in Shelby Park, watching movies on their laptops. They've got the National Guard activated, paying those salaries, doing nothing. It's all pretend show so that they can put a message out that they're the ones that fixed it. They're the ones that are doing anything. Joe Biden's not doing. Meanwhile, what is Joe Biden doing? We have massively increased the number of Customs and Border Patrol down there. DEA is making big busts down there. They're actually doing the work, the heavy lifting. The Biden administration and the federal government are the ones that are actually doing something about it. But I told you the narrative, when I went down there and I talked to some people, the narrative's working. You'll remember I talked to you about Oscar. Oscar's going to vote for Trump. because Oscar believes that this little spectacle down at Shelby Park and this bullshit wall that you can walk around is doing something. And if you don't believe when I tell you that's exactly what the Republicans intend to do, is take credit for these falling numbers, let me just introduce you to Greg Abbott, my governor, who after months and months and months of saying, oh, we're under, and remember, these numbers lag. The same time that Greg Abbott was getting real-time reports that this was happening, he was sitting there telling any microphone, Fox News, anything, anybody that would point a camera at him, it's an invasion. Yesterday, let me read you his tweet. Texas is the reason for the lowest march for migrant encounters at the border. Illegal crossings are down 72% across the Texas-Mexico border. Our historic border, now, 72% across the entire border. You're talking about California, Arizona, New Mexico, but yeah, Texas is the reason why. Our historic border security efforts are working. Texas holds the line. I told you, folks. I told you. I told you this is exactly what they were going to do. I told you the numbers had plummeted. I showed you the invading duck in the river, the Mexican duck down in the river that was invading us. I showed you where the fences ended, that you could walk right around them. That everything being done down there is being done by the federal government and Joe Biden. But here comes old Hot Wheels, man, just rolling in. It was me, man. It was, and they will. You could believe it. They will believe it. You will hear this on social media from now on, from now till the caravan shows up. And that caravan will show up. It is election time. Two things are going to happen. Oil companies are going to cause your gas prices to go up right before the election. It will. Every single election, it happens. There will be a caravan paid for by right-wing Republican donors in coordination with the Russians down in Mexico City embassy down there, the Russian embassy in Mexico City. They will fund a caravan. It will happen. Every single election. In the meantime, they will lie. Brace for it. I told you they would say that. They said it. Now, the propaganda mouse, the bots that Elon Musk runs for the Republican Party on X, they are going to repeat this. Oh, man, Greg Abbott did it. Oh, that strong Texas governor. Woo, we're so lucky. He's doing Joe Biden's job. Even though the National Guard does nothing down there, the Texas Guard does nothing at our border. They have no statutory mandate. Even though the big surge in December was two things. It was Christmas. Happen to get a surge every year at Christmas. And we had humanitarian crises that were culminating. Haiti was falling apart. Honduras was seeing massive amounts of violence. Things like that were happening. Mexico was dealing with its own crisis at the time. But what happened? The Biden administration sent our Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, down to Mexico and Central America. They worked this out. They did the job. Customs and Border Patrol, we added more agents. And then we produced a bill that would put even more agents down there that would help modernize those ports so that you could get more scanners, more lanes, make them more efficient, more accurate, and end even more of this. And the Republicans killed it. Just like when we had Title 42, and this is the last I'm going to say about this. I know everybody gets tired of hearing about the border. They get tired of hearing about Trump. I do too. It gets old. But we can never let them rewrite reality. And that's what they will try to do. Christina Grimison says, Mexico is still dealing with a crisis. Their water situation is dire. It is. It really is. El Nino is killing them. It was already bad, and then El Nino came along and just pushed it into a crisis situation. What she's talking about is Mexico City is going to run out of water. It is going to, their lakes that they get their water from are reaching dead pool. Thank you, David Lehman. Who hasn't hit the thumbs up button? Look, folks, this is really simple. This is really Bogota, Colombia. While we're talking about Mexico City, Bogota, Colombia is already out of water. City of 10 million people is out of water. Not going to run out. They are out. They are rationing water in Bogota, Colombia. If you don't think that's going to cause an immigration event, you're crazy. It is. That's what droughts do. And there will always be, even before we had global warming, there were cyclical weather patterns that caused migration. And the Republicans, they do not live in reality. They cannot deal with it. They do nothing but spectacle and show. Yes, they're having problems with a lot of people don't realize the Panama Canal isn't like one ditch they dug through the middle of Panama. It's actually a series of lakes, and those lakes are having, El Nino's drying up lakes. It is. This is the kind of thing that you need competent people that believe in government and believe in reality dealing with. Absolutely. And I have to tell you, you don't get it from people like this. You don't get it from people like this. Greg Abbott, out of his own mouth. Great to meet with Samsung President CEO Han-Hyun Kyung yesterday in Austin. Samsung investment of over $40 billion will expand cutting-edge facilities in Texas and create thousands of jobs. Texas is the #1 state for semiconductors. Oh, cool. Wonder how that happened. I wonder who did the work to make that happen. Oh, yeah. It was President Biden. And in the CHIPS Act, there was $6.4 billion for Samsung to aid them in building this factory down here in Texas. And my ungrateful piece of crap governor doesn't even have the character or manliness to say, thank you. That's a good thing. In fact, Republicans voted against it. My senators voted against it. Ted Cruz, who's running against Colin Allred here, voted against that money. Now they're sitting here saying, oh, Samsung came to Texas. Aren't we special? Didn't we do a great job? Not one. Hey, thanks, Joe, and the whole bunch. That was your money. That was your money. All across this country, that was your money that enticed Samsung to come here and build this factory. And I'm grateful. Thank you. We need good jobs here in Texas. We really do. But that was Joe and the CHIPS Act. And again, Republicans trying to take credit for it. Republicans trying to take credit for it. Shrieking Antelope says, I drove the entire, thank you for the support, by the way. A lot of people have clicked through, given support that I haven't acknowledged. I apologize. We got a lot to talk about. I'm trying to bust it. I see the donations and I'm grateful. The Shrieking Antelope says, I drove the entire southern border with a dash cam. The wall is falling over in a lot of places. Nothing is happening. But after speaking with a couple locals, they just want their park back. Yeah. Yeah. Same thing I found when I went down there. It's a joke. The razor wire they put up looks like low rent trash. They've got shipping containers for a wall. freaking garbage strewn on the border on riverfront property, but they don't put it in front of the rich folks' property. No, sir. No, sir. Well, folks, we actually got a really big deal that's just happened with the Supreme Court that kind of flew under the radar. The corporate media, to their credit, paid it just a little bit of lip service, but nobody has really dug into this because, well, they're lazy and stupid. This is one of the most critical things that have happened in our country's history. It really is. This is a big effing deal. And it starts here. You remember there was a guy by the name of Alton Sterling. And Alton Sterling was selling CDs in front of a convenience store. And that's illegal where he's at. You can't do that. So a couple of cops showed up and they were going to arrest him. And instead of just being smart and getting arrested and suing later and trying to fight it later, he resisted. He did. And they wrestled him to the ground. And then it just went freaking nuts. When they had him on the ground, the cops shot him. Just flat out executed the dude. I mean, really. Of course, the police have investigated themselves and said, hey, he resisted, therefore he's responsible, yada, yada, yada. But, folks, I'll be the first one to tell you, and I'll be honest with you. I have, I'm an old white dude, but my family is not. My family is mixed. And I have told my Hispanic grandchildren, look, racist exists. And they are really drawn to that badge like a bug, to a bug light. You get pulled over by a cop, you keep your mouth shut. If he's belligerent and abusive, you keep your mouth shut. You do not give them any excuses. You never resist. Papa will take care of that. But when you're out there on the side of the road, they have the power of life or death over you, and you do not give them any excuse. Ever. That is an actual talk I have had with my own grandchildren. Well, people did not like what happened to Alton Sterling, and they organized a protest. This is DeRay McKeeson. This is DeRay McKeeson. He's an activist. And he organized a protest over the shooting of Alton Sterling. And you don't know this, folks, but your First Amendment died in that parking lot with Alton Sterling. It did. I remember watching that on the news, and I had no clue that I just watched my First Amendment die along with Alton Sterling. But the Supreme Court just killed it. See, during that protest, some jackass picked up a rock and chucked it at a cop. The cop got hit in the face and took a lot of damage, knocked some teeth out, busted his face. I mean, they beamed him hard. And that cop, who is unidentified, he's John Doe, is suing McKeeson. Not because he instigated violence, because it was a peaceful protest. They told people to be peaceful. Some jackass showed up and chucked a rock. And that officer should be able to sue that jackass that did that. He should. Everybody, including Mr. McKeeson, agrees that guy should be held accountable. He should go to jail. But that's not what's happening. See, the Republicans don't like protest. They don't like making people aware. They don't like getting people upset and involved. They don't. And the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal has wanted to kill protesting in general, period. They've passed law after law after law, making it dangerous to protest. And this is what's happening. This cop sues, we get McKeeson versus Doe. McKeeson's attorneys appeal. Because there's settled law, folks, that say that you can peacefully protest and not be held accountable. I mean, for this. I mean, there's multiple precedents. Counterman versus Colorado, NAACP versus Claiborne Hardware. There's established law that says as long as you are peaceful, you don't incite violence, you can't be held accountable for anything. That's your First Amendment right to protest. Well, when Mr. McKeeson's attorneys appealed it, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals said, no, we're going to make you liable for what anybody does in your protest. And his attorney said, well, that's ridiculous. There's already established law that's not the law. You can't do that. And they appealed it to the Supreme Court. And the conservatives on the Supreme Court didn't kill it right there. This is back in 2020. They didn't kill it right there. They said, you know what? Go back and get some guidance. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, go get some guidance from the Louisiana Supreme Court. This happened in Baton Rouge. Get some guidance from the Louisiana Supreme Court, and I'm sure you'll work it out just fine. They had a plan, folks. They had a plan. Because the Louisiana Circuit Supreme Court came back and said, you know what? It's okay. Sue them. Yeah, Jimbo says, tell people in France they can't protest. The whole country will show up in the streets. Exactly. Ooh, that's hot. Nice. Love my coffee. Hope your coffee is as good as mine, folks. I really do. I mean, I tell you, that's my thing. I have very few vices. That is one of them. And that's a great point, by the way. You know, this happened a few days ago. Where I'm going with this happened a few days ago. Crickets. Nobody's saying nothing. In fact, they're saying just the opposite. They're saying, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah, like Tom Cotton's response to the Palestinian protests. Good point, new kid. Look, they kicked it back to the Louisiana Supreme Court. Louisiana Supreme Court said, concurred with the Fifth Circuit. And the Fifth Circuit's not unanimous in this. They have strong dissensions that are pointing out the obvious, that if you do this, you're killing protests, because you can just sue any organization to death that arranges any protest. So after getting the guidance from the Louisiana Supreme Court, Mr. McKeeson's attorneys took it back. The Fifth Circuit issues a ruling, says, okay, sue him. They appealed it again to the Supreme Court and said, look, what you did last time didn't help. This is settled law. Obviously, they're wrong. Obviously, the Louisiana Supreme Court is contradicting the precedent that the Supreme Court already decided. These folks are doing the wrong thing here and are not following precedent. Do something about this. And the Supreme Court said, nah, we're busy. We're busy. Go ahead and let the case go forward. Folks, why would they want this case to go forward? in every other instance where something is so clear cut in precedence. I mean, this is not obscure law. This is not new test theory. This is not like the arguments they're making over the January 6th hearing. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Why would they want them to hold a case over something that's already been settled? Really simple. They want to overturn the precedent, just like they did with abortion. This is right-wing legal strategy to have this case be heard, be settled wrongly, get appealed again. This is what's enraging me, is that you're getting legal experts, people on the left, that are saying, oh, don't worry, this doesn't really overturn precedent. NAACP versus Cleburne, it's all still in place. You're good. If I'm good, why do they want this case to go through? What do they want out of this? This is not new legal ground. This is what happens next. The case goes through. Doesn't matter who wins, it's going to get appealed. If Mr. McKeeshan wins and they say, oh, settled law says you can't hold him responsible, no damages, go away. John Doe's attorneys appeal it. They appeal it to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. We're getting there, Peter Campbell. I appreciate your support, my man. I really do. Thank you for all the support, folks. I really do appreciate it. Allows me to do this full time. But you have to ask yourself, I mean, don't just listen to what people tell you. Ask the question, why? So this goes back to the Fifth Circuit. The Fifth Circuit rules wrongly on it because they've already ruled wrongly on it. They've already ignored precedent. There's a reason. Why? Why? Then this goes to the Supreme Court and bye-bye, Cleburne. Because that's what they want. And if you don't think they'll do it, Dobbs, they just did. I mean, ask yourself, what America do they want? They don't want BLM protests. And folks, you think, there's a lot of folks that are going to say that are legal experts that can say, oh, that's hyperbole, that's over the top. You're just scaring people. Am I really? Because during the BLM movements, you had this. And under the precedent they are setting here, this right-winger in the Boogaloo movement that shot up a police station now makes everyone involved with the original protests that were peaceful. The BLM protesters were peaceful. Well, they can now be sued and held liable for everything that this man did. Not the only one. Y'all remember this guy? You remember this guy, Umbrella Man? You remember Umbrella Man? He's the one that actually started the violence. There was no violence. It was peaceful. He came in and started busting out windows in an auto zone and then torched it. They found out later that guy's a white supremacist. He's a white supremacist. Infiltrated a peaceful protest. Started damaging things. And now the organizers, under this precedent that we're seeing, can now be sued because of these people. Because everybody agrees Mr. McKeeshan did not throw a rock. Mr. McKeeshan didn't encourage anybody to throw a rock. They did just the opposite, actually. They encouraged a peaceful protest. But now, like this, you remember these incidences? I remember this very clearly the day it happened, watching it on the news. 2 little white girls running around spraying graffiti all over buildings. And they didn't just do a Starbucks, they did several buildings. And people in the actual protest, the BLM protest, followed them and filmed them. They were spraying BLM graffiti on buildings. No one else was. No one in the protest was. It was these little white supremacist chicks wanting to create a false freaking narrative. Take this back to Greg Abbott and his Fantasyland crap. It's all Republicans do. In their minds, they create these enemies and then attack and defeat the enemies that they created in their minds. They create false narratives. Peter Campbell, again, thank you for the support, man. Agent provocateur, history is full of them. Yes. And folks, you've got people of my political stripe telling you, don't worry, this didn't overturn anything, really. They're still going to hold the case, and they'll rule the right way in the case. What makes you think that? They haven't ruled the correct way yet. They obviously want this case to happen when it should be dismissed. Thanks for the support, Michael. I really appreciate you, my man. $20 is a lot of money. I'm very grateful. They obviously want this case to happen. Why? There's got to be a reason. Well, the reason wouldn't be to affirm the law. They could affirm the law by simply dismissing the case. To affirm precedent, they could just say, no, we've got precedent, get out of here. Pew, pew. That doesn't apply. No, they want to overturn this. And when they do, you will never be able to protest again. Because, folks, it doesn't end with DeRay McKeeson. Did you participate in that protest? That's a conspiracy. You're now responsible. Folks, this is a Pandora's box that changes our country forever. And I'm just gobsmacked at the fact that you have so many people that are resting the future of our country on the same people that have made these horrendous decisions will suddenly hear the case, let it be argued out on its merits that are already before you, and suddenly rule the right way this time. No, ma'am. No, sir. That's not me. I don't believe that. I don't believe we should wait for that. I think we need to be raising hell about this. We need to be using that First Amendment right to protest. But yeah, folks, I mean, it's all Republicans are. They invent a straw man. Boogeyman down at the border. It's an invasion. It's an invasion. Here come the Russian troll farms. It's an invasion. You dumbass Papa. Oh, yeah, it's an invasion. Really, Papa? Where are they? Oh, I don't know. I can't see them. But it's here. It's an invasion. They invent fake crises, then do nothing because there's no crises for them to overcome, and then pretend in a few months, we fixed the crises. It was us because we told you there was a crisis. We fixed it. It's crap, folks. It's all Republicans do. Jeanette Dahl, thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Danish Kroner. Folks, I want to tell you, we have a huge international audience. A lot of folks from Denmark here. Send them their love. They have just had a tragedy. There's a beautiful building called the Borsen Building. It's on my bucket list of things. It was on my bucket list of things to see. It had a spire on it called the Dragon Spire. Thanks, Peter. I really appreciate the support. $50 is a lot of cash, man. I really appreciate you, my friend. The Dragon Spire is just beautiful. It is beautiful. It's 3 dragons with their paws, the bottom of the spire, the feet of the spire were their paws, right? 3 dragons in a circular spire, right? Their heads were in the middle with their chins touching the ground, and their chins and the paws were the feet of the spire, and their bodies went up and twisted together to make an entwisting spire. And then there were artistic balls that came to a point. And it was just really architecturally one of the most impressive things you've ever seen. It's just incredible. And unfortunately, during renovations, the Borson building burned down. The roof they were working on caught fire, and it's gone. We really lost. And to our Danish friends, I'm truly sorry for your loss. That is just an amazing piece of history and architecture that we will never get back. I mean, we will never get it back. And to their credit, you want to know what Danes are like? You want to know what Danes are like? Building catches on fire. It's covered with drapes because, they want to keep the dust down during the renovation. So imagine this entire massive building covered, just draped with cloth, right? It's on fire. Danes grabbed crowbars and everything they could get their hands on and ran into this burning building and started prying the priceless artworks off the wall to save them. They were able to save a huge portion of them, of the history out of the building. They just went in and they ripped these things off the walls, and they're now stored in the castle. The Borson building is a block away from Christiansburg Castle, which is just right next door. So they moved all the priceless paintings there. Just amazing people, and I'm truly sorry. I am truly sorry for your loss. In fact, let me see if I can just pull up a quick image for you. This is the spire I was telling you about. One of a kind, really. The feet are dragons, and then their bodies intertwined together to make that spiral. Really beautiful. Really beautiful. It's the old stock exchange is what it is. But yeah, sorry. I'm very sorry, folks. Well, we do have some good news. I know it seems weird to go from something as sad as that to good news. We do have some really good news to talk about. And again, I'm going to blow my own horn here. I am. I seem to be in touch with reality much better than a lot of people. We had our Iran attack Israel. We talked about that in the previous show. And I told everybody, Israel is not going to respond in kind. They're just not. They're not. Things are going too well in the Middle East. Way to go, Joe. Way to go, Joe. But Putin's trolls have been trying to sell on every social media platform. This is World War III. This is World War III. Joe Biden got us in World War III. And I laughed at everyone. No, they didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Bottom line is, Saudi Arabia and Israel are normalizing relationships. That is terrifying, Iran. Iran needs the chaos or they're nothing. No one likes Iran. No, nobody likes Iran. Nobody. They live off this chaos. That's why they fund and provide arms for all of these terrorist groups. Well, the IDF came out and said, you know what, Paul, you're right. I'm not going to take credit for that. Joe Biden did the work. IDF chief of staff says Israel will respond to Israel's missile attack, but their response is not going to be an attack on Iran. It is not going to be in kind or on scale. It is going to be something small in the future. We don't know when, but we'll respond, promise you. They did exactly what I said they were going to do. They waved the fist in the air. But the IDF chief came out and said, bottom line, there will be no missile attack on Iran. There will be no airstrikes on Iran. We are not doing this with you. You know, and I'll be honest with you, what this reminded me of, there's a guy named Mike Sawyer. He's a UFC fighter, one of the first. And he was at a restaurant the day before he was to be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. And some guy starts a fight with him. I mean, some drunk decides to pick a fight with him. He picks Mike Sawyer, of all people. And Mike Sawyer did not beat this guy to a pulp. He just didn't. He was drunk. He just took him to the ground. He held his arm, and the guy flailed around. The security came, and the cops came and arrested the guy. And it was just hilarious watching this guy trying to fight Mike Sawyer. And that's what this attack from Iran looked like. Thanks for the support, Samita. I really appreciate you. That's what this attack from Iran looked like. It was just so obviously they were overwhelmed. You know, they did their best, man. They were swinging as hard as they could swing. They sent their best. I mean, they launched ballistic missiles at Israel, and Israel shrugged it off. And Joe Biden stepped in and said, you will take the win. You humiliated them. They are neutered. You have shown that you could kick the living crap out of them. Doing it serves no purpose. E.T., one problem that I've had with certain factions of Democrats has been their heads in the sand attitudes that they often have. I agree with you. I agree with you on that one. I'm telling you, we are not militant enough when it comes to the Supreme Court. We really aren't. We need to be impeaching Supreme Court justices, opening up seats. We need to expand the Supreme Court. There are 11 circuits now. Why are there not 11 justices? But yeah, that's some really great news, folks. The IDF has come out and said, no, we're not going to tit for tat with Iran. No, this isn't going to escalate. No, we're not going to have World War III. And of course, Putin comes out and issues a statement after the IDF says we're not going to respond. He says, you know, I really think everybody should be calm. We don't want escalation in the Middle East. Yes, I've called for escalation, just like the Republicans. Dude, you caused this. You and Iran caused this. Just like Greg Abbott caused Title 42, was a huge reason for the immigration influx we had last year. Sued Joe Biden to stop it. Yeah, pardon me. I said 11. There are 13 circuits. Thank you. No, Trina, I didn't. I didn't. Copenhagen's on my bucket list of places to go. I love that architecture. Folks, look at Scandinavian architecture. It is, I love it. Very conservative, beautiful. The cities were beautiful when were built. They're beautiful today. Even more beautiful because of the patina on the roofs, and when they build buildings to last half a millennia. They build these buildings to last 400 or 500 years. They're gorgeous. They really are. And that was a real loss, Trina. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. But yeah, folks, again, you got Putin, just like the Republicans, they're identical. 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Russians or Republicans. Same thing. Same strategy. It is just laughable that Putin is coming out now and saying, Yes, we didn't want World War III to happen after his troll farms just spent the last couple days whipping up every right-wing MAGA twat into repeating, Biden started World War III. Look, Iran attacked Israel. You know, we're not stupid. We see you. We know what you are. We know what you are. And yes, we've got an international audience, folks. This is not American arrogance. This is just data. So our international audience, when I say this, no, this is not bravado and bragging. But I just want to punctuate what we've talked about with Republicans versus Democrats for the future of the nation. Just you've got Trump on criminal trial. Can't even stay awake. He's humiliating himself. You've got Republicans that are creating straw men fights with things and people that aren't there, and then declaring victory because the Biden administration already dealt with the problem. They caused problems like they killed the immigration bill. That was the way bills are supposed to work, folks. You had Democrats and Republicans that sat across from the table. They negotiated out good things in that bill. Was it perfect? No, it's a compromise. Compromises are never perfect. But it was a good bill, and they killed it. They frickin' killed it because they want the problems so they can have the straw men. But just like I told you, Customs and Border Patrol is doing their job. We've added more agents to them, so they're doing their job even better. They can do it even better. This is an easy problem to fix. But again, Republicans making up fantasies. Bullshit. You've got the Russians doing the exact same thing. And providing the trolls that provide these BS narratives. World War III. Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. The IDF said they're not even going to respond. They're going to do something small and personal in the future sometime when you're not looking. But they're not going to attack. Specifically said, we're not attacking Iran, the nation of Iran, or the people of Iran. Unlike Iran that, just sent a barrage of missiles out to kill God knows who. I just want to leave you with those juxtaposed positions. I just want to leave you with those juxtaposed positions because that's what we're dealing with, folks. That's the reality. Next show, I've got a neat little story for you coming up. It's gonna take a little bit, but yeah. The guy that brought us Thomas Crowther, the guy that brought us greenwashing, the planting the trees movement, the modern Johnny Appleseed, is screaming to anybody that'll listen, stop planting frickin' trees. We got a problem, folks. We're going to talk about that on Friday. That's actually a good story. Want to tell you about a really good deal that's going on. Whenever I find something, I tell you, this isn't a sponsor. This isn't anybody paying me to say this. Just something I tripped across. For the next couple of weeks, if you like good information, Wired Magazine is having a sale. It's normally $30 a year. You can get it for $5 for a year. Good deal. Good deal. And then when you sign up for it, and folks, when you make a donation, I don't waste money. I don't waste my money. I don't waste your money. When you sign up for Wired, which I've used them as sources before, but you only get so many free articles. We are now members of Wired. We have a subscription. We can use as many articles out of there as we want now to talk about. Condé Nast owns Wired. And Condé Nast is a huge parent company of several really great magazines. When you sign up for Wired, for 50 additional bucks, they'll give you access to about 8 more magazines. Many of them I use already. for sources. So yeah, that's what you paid for, folks. I don't waste your money. We buy subscriptions to get more information, more sources. But I just wanted you to know, in case you like reading, in case you like magazines, because some of them were, cooking Epicurious, different cooking magazines, yada, 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 just so you know it's out there. That's what I have for you today, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. We've got a few minutes left. If you'd like to do a roundtable, any good questions that you have, I'd love to talk about them, expand on what we're talking about. Anything that you've noticed that we'd like to talk about, throw it out there. Let's hear it, folks. Let's do it. John says, how do I support the show? John, you can either, if you're a YouTube viewer, you can do it with through YouTube, which is great because that supports Google also, which provides us this format to reach people. I'm always grateful that, you're not just supporting me, you're also supporting Google. Or you can go to my website or my link tree. People are linking it right now. You can go to realtexaspaul.com. That'll take you to our merch store. If you just want to buy a mug, we sell the mugs. But yeah, thanks for the support, Michael Thomas. That's a super, by the way. You can do that up near the top of the screen on YouTube. How are races in Texas going? Great question. Fantastic. We still have some work to do. Colin Allred is polling well against Ted Cruz. A lot of the local races are very tight. I'm going to be with the Smith County Democrats this weekend to help get them motivated. I'm going to be working with local candidates. I'm going to have some people on the show that are candidates, may not be in your area, but, I don't care where you are in the country. If you're a Democrat, I'll fight for you. I will. But things are looking really good. We are trending in the right direction. Here's the deal, though, folks. A dead heat poll in a state like Texas is a loser for us Democrats. We've got to be polling 4 or 5 points ahead to pull out a race. We do. It's just the way it works. But this feels like thanks for the support, Matthew. I really appreciate you, my man. This feels like a really different year. I think the abortion issue, because of the polling we're seeing with women, is amazing. It is amazing nationwide. We're having a little bit of a problem here in Texas. Nationwide, Joe Biden's polling more than 20 points ahead of Trump with women, suburban women particularly. In Texas, that ain't the case. It's about a dead heat. I don't know what's going on with Texas women. I guess they like living in Gilead, and I don't know. But we've still got some work to do there. But Texas is going to be tight. I think it's going to stay purple this year, to be honest with you. And Michelle, yeah, it affects men too. It really does affect men too. You cannot, as a couple, engage in family planning here in the state of Texas. And they're coming, folks, they're coming after contraception. They are coming after your First Amendment rights. They're coming after everything. They want to control you. They want to turn us into a damn theocracy. That's their goal. Yes, I'm in East Texas. Born in South Texas, lived in Central Texas, lived and worked in Central Texas, and I'm in East Texas now. Yeah, good point, Tommy. They are. Folks, if you can get a man to believe absurdities, you can get a man to commit atrocities. That's just a fact. Voltaire said that. It is a fact. And these Republicans believe the most absurd and insane things. It's scary. It's scary. Looks like it. Looks like it. I just sent a piece into Midas Touch on this very thing. What he's talking about is Cruz's podcast. Don't recommend it. Don't recommend it. It is, as I said in the video I sent to Midas, listening to Cruz's podcast, because I wanted to know what I was talking about, was like standing there and having somebody throw horse shit at you. It just is bad. And turns out that old Cruz, and I don't want to blow it, I want you to go to Midas and watch the video, but the short of it is that Cruz lied about the money, and the money he received from iHeartRadio is a crime. It's a crime. Once they flesh it all out, it is an election crime. Christian, I appreciate you, man. Another person from Denmark. Man, I love you folks. I need to talk about Denmark. It's so funny. Well, it's not funny. It's kind of sad, actually. Americans don't pay attention in history class. They really don't pay attention in geography. They really don't pay attention in geography. Most Americans, when you talk to them, don't know the difference between the Dutch and the Danes. They think it's the same thing. They think Holland is a country. It's not. It's a state in the Netherlands. And they think the Netherlands and Denmark are the same thing. They just do. We've got to have a good show on the Danes, because there's a lot of really rich history in the United States involving the Danes and the shaping of our country. Philip Albor says, Iran's regime is now beating up women who are sympathetic towards Israel by not wearing the hijab. To start a war was deflection. Yeah, Philip, that's the point I made in the last show. People are like, well, you didn't say why they attacked. I said, yeah, I did. I said it was in response to the leader of the Quds forces being killed. And Israel blew up the embassy that he was in. He killed actually several officers in the Quds forces. I said that, but I also said more. I said, the reason that you saw this ridiculous attack from Iran is they are hanging by a thread. Iran is very unstable right now. People have had enough of this crap. They've had several movements, as Philip Alipor is pointing out here, within Iran, where people are just out and out bluntly protesting, which never used to happen in Iran. Literally walking up and slapping the headdresses off of mullahs and clerics. They are. I mean, you've never seen stuff like this before, like what's going on in Iran. And Iran had to respond. They did. Their hardliners are all that's allowing them to hold on. And if they didn't respond to Israel, if they got emasculated again and did nothing, this regime was going to fall. That's where Iran is at. I mean, they are in desperately bad straits right now. And somebody had mentioned that there would be a war between Pakistan and India. That's old news, folks. That is old news. That is not the truth on the ground. Pakistan and India, yes, have a lot of bad blood with them. But that's like saying there's going to be a war between Vietnam and the United States. Pakistan and India get along. They do. In fact, you have extremists in Pakistan attacking Iranian military. No, Pakistan's not going to start a war with India for Iran. It's not going to happen. I mean, a lot has changed on the ground in that region. Just remember this. What's driving this conflict most is Saudi Arabia is normalizing relationships with Israel. All of the old rhetoric about Israel must die and all the other crap that used to come out of Saudi Arabia is over. It's all business now. all business. That's why when they said, oh man, Hamas attacked Israel, this is going to inflame the region, and all of the Arab neighbors that hate Israel are going to attack. And I said, no, they aren't. Because the reality on the ground has changed. Iran has nukes. Yeah, I hate to disappoint you, but Iran has nukes. They do. Trump ended the inspection regime that we had in place to stop them from enriching. They've been enriching ever since. Iran has nukes. Thanks to Trump, Iran, they do. They do have nukes. Bella, they do. They don't brag about it, but they do. They don't have a large number. That's why they're very quiet about it. But they do. They have developed some, and they're low grade. It's like their ICBMs, that are their ballistic missiles, I should say, that they use to attack Israel with. Not the greatest, but they do have the technology. Thank you, Kathy D. I appreciate you. Yeah, we had an inspection regime in place. We had an agreement with Iran that allowed international inspectors in to monitor that their enrichment equipment was still locked away, and that the only nuclear materials they had were to build nuclear power stations, which is scientifically, it's totally different animal. When you enrich for nuclear fuel versus a nuclear weapon, totally different process, totally different materials, not the same thing at all. But we used to have inspectors in place. Trump destroyed all that. He destroyed all that. So Iran's been doing their own thing for about half a decade, and they have more than enough material for a nuclear weapon. Granted, they're going to be low grade. They're not going to be great, but they are. They have them. Great conversation, guys. Great conversation. Madam Power says drone warfare is a major concern. It is. You know, actually, when I was looking at the Borson building and wondering if I should do an entire show on, talking about the difference between Danes and, because we have Norwegians, we have Swedes, we have Finns, we have, granted, Finland and Sweden, they're not the same thing, folks. It's not, you really need to learn your geography and your history. Here in the United States, everything from northern Germany up, we all consider to be like the same people. They're not. The Finns are very different. The Finns have more in common with the Hungarians than they do with Swedes. You just got to know your history. But yeah, Puerto Rico. Hey, good point. Puerto Rico. Heidi is in the house. All right, Heidi. The reason Heidi Acevedo is named Heidi, and she doesn't know this, are the Danes. The Danes used to own Puerto Rico until not too long ago, actually. You're not talking about ancient history. Great question, Scott. Falcon Lake is at 15%. Why does Abbott do nothing? Republicans cannot govern. Republicans cannot look at an issue and say, okay, we have to do something for the people, because they are funded by some very wealthy individuals. And everything that you would do to alleviate a situation like that hurts business. It does. It just does. But you got to do it. People need water. Very wealthy people look at that situation and say, I got an answer for that. I'll buy up water rights. They do, folks. They do look at it that way. Republicans cannot work on behalf of the people. They are structurally not designed to. Great point there, Geronimo. Great point. De los cielos. Great point. Yeah, Texas is two things. It is a tax dodge. And by a tax dodge, I mean, if imagine for a minute you're Johnny Got Rocks and you live in New York, you've got land, a place in Aspen, you've got a place in LA, you've got a place in, like Brad Pitt owns a beautiful chalet in France. You don't want to pay taxes. You do what Elon Musk did. You buy a little shack down here in Texas and declare it your residence. Well, now you're a resident of Texas. You make everybody pay you in Texas. Voila. No income taxes. It's that easy. It's really that easy. You just have to declare you live in Texas. You don't have to actually live here. I mean, you're supposed to, but nobody keeps track of that. Nobody pays attention to that. You buy you a house down here where it's hot and there's mosquitoes and everything down here has horns, thorns, stickers, and barbs. But you buy you a little place down here and you never pay taxes again. Because you're going to pay property taxes, right? School taxes. The rest of the taxes are fees and sales tax. Well, if you ain't living here, you're damn sure not paying sales taxes because you aren't buying shit here, are you? That leaves property taxes and school taxes. Well, you didn't buy a big estate like you have everywhere else. Exactly. No alimony either. No alimony either. My state is a giant dodge for wealthy people. Yeah, Kelly, that's a whole old saying. Everything in Texas is either has horns, thorns, stickers, or barbs. But yeah, folks, that's my state, man. That's what my state is. The worst part about it is, I'm going to be completely honest with you. We're a poor state. We really are a poor state. And I know everybody that, the right wing that will see this will say, what? Oh, you're an idiot. You're stupid. The data shows Texas is wealthy. We got all kinds of money. No, we don't. No, we don't. Those numbers are so freaking skewed by the wealthy that use my state as a tax dodge. They siphon that money right out of here. It's hot down here, folks. It is. I mean, it's a beautiful state. Don't get me wrong. I live in a beautiful ass forest. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous where I live. It is. But man, in the summer, it is 100 degrees with 100% humidity, man. I mean, the relative temperature outside is usually closer to 120 than 100. And yeah, it used to be a very rich state. It did, but then Republicans have been running it for the last quarter century. Our schools are massively underfunded. We have the illusion of being rich because they count Elon Musk's money. I invite you to look up Elon Musk's house down in Boca Chica. It's a shack. It's a little bitty, tiny little shack. You think he really lives there? Or is there a reason his plane flies to California constantly? Texas is an illusion. We used to be 25 years ago. No kidding, folks. This is not bragging. This is not anything. This is just reality. 25 years ago, we had the best infrastructure in the country. We did. We were building lakes, man. We were just, we had just the best roads. You could tell when you left the state of Texas because you would hit Oklahoma or Louisiana or New Mexico, and the highways would go from beautiful, smooth, gorgeous highways to ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. You knew exactly when you left the state of Texas. That's over, man. That's over. Our schools were some of the best in the nation. Not anymore. We lag near the bottom on education. That Samsung factory they're going to build here with thousands of jobs, man, those aren't going to Americans or Texans, pardon me. Those aren't going to Texans. They're going to bring people in for those jobs. And then the Texans are going to take the jobs working in the laundromat and the restaurant and working on the road crew and, working the construction and all of the things that services those people they bring in. But we're not going to get the gravy jobs. We're not. I'm grateful for the jobs. But that's just the way it works. That's just the way it works, folks. We got about 3 minutes left, and we're going to call it. We got another good question, another good comment out there? Yeah, Patricia White. She's from Tennessee. Listen to her. She'll tell you the same thing here. Tennessee also has no state income tax. The influx of celebrities flocking to the Nashville area. So many poor people in our state. Our schools and healthcare systems are crap. That's the way it works, man. That's the way it works. I'm telling you. Yeah, an uneducated public is because you can tell them anything and they believe it. Why do you think MAGA has such a strong control in the state? We got a lot of really dumb asses, really dumb idiots in this state. But yeah, folks, that's the way it works here. Ask anybody in a state that has no income tax, which, hey, I'm not for it. I don't love taxes, but I pay some of the highest taxes in the country. I just don't pay an income tax. They get me with fees. They get me with property taxes. They get me with school taxes. They get me with just sales tax. Everything I buy, I chip into the government. Yeah, I saw that, Josh. That was just terrible. If you don't know what a bunch of scammers were calling some old, and oh God, since I moved out in the sticks, I have never had more scammers try to get in touch. They know they're ignorant people around in rural areas. This guy straight up murdered an Uber driver and had the nuts the sack to claim that he's afraid for his life. She was trying to get in her car and leave. Here's the story. Scammers call this guy, tell him he's got there's a relative that's been arrested. They did a little research on this guy before they scammed him. They found a relative's name. They said he's been arrested. We need $12,000 to bail him out. We're going to send a driver to pick it up. Yeah. Anybody with half an education would have laughed at it. That doesn't happen. Bail bond companies don't call you. Jails don't call you. It doesn't happen. Your relative calls you from jail. But this old dude just, they told him they were going to send an Uber driver to pick it up. Well, he starts calling people and they're like, no, dumbass, you're being scammed. So the Uber driver shows up. Uber driver has no idea. They called an Uber driver and said, pick up a package at this address. I learned something new. I didn't know you could do that with Uber, but apparently you can. So this 60-year-old woman shows up at this man's house. He pulls a pistol on her. She has no clue. She's screaming for help. Tries to get in her car and leave, and he shoots her 3 times. Point blank range. Bam, bam, bam. Then has the stones to claim he was afraid for his life. Thought she was there to kill him. 60-year-old woman with nothing but a cell phone in her hand, screaming for help. And he's going to go with the, I was afraid for my life defense. ET says, get out that vote. Get others registered. Get them to the polls. It's work that is needed to defeat these people. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to end it with that. Great comment, ET. Great way to wrap up the show. I appreciate you folks being here. I hope you enjoyed the information. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I absolutely love spending this time with you. Thank you very much. And thank you for all the support. Yes. And Tommy, she did. She had video on the car. It is gut wrenching to watch. She is literally pleading for help in her life. It's heartbreaking. Vote Democrat, folks. The MAGA voters are too stupid to save the country. You've got to do it. I love you folks. This is Old Texas Paul out. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.